Well, hello. How are we doing, everybody? All right, let's see if I can manage to touch the screen and not lose the signal, because I have to get rid of all these silly messages so I can read what people are saying about me. Right, hello, the Kitchers. Hi, Sheila. Suitably Stratty? I hope so. And Russ, thank you. The Blues God, I wish, but that's very kind of you to say. And hello, Mum. Nice of Mum to tune in every time. Thanks, Mum. Right, where are we? So today is the turn of my my vintage, one of my vintage Stratocasters. So this is hopefully you can hear me. I'll just get this mic a little bit closer to my face. Here I am. Right, there we go. Right, so this is a 1974 Fender Stratocaster. One of the most unusual things about this, if you don't know much about Strats, is this is what's commonly known as a hard tail Stratocaster. So this is in other words, a Fender Strat with no tremolo arm and no tremolo bridge system, whatever. So obviously it hasn't got the arm, but it hasn't got the rest of it either. So there's no springs and no tremolo. Who's that? Oh, Tim. Yeah, thank you. Yes, it is a great sounding Strat. Actually, this one I have to say. I don't know whether it's to do with that guy. I've got three 370 Strats. They sound good, but I think this one is probably the most sort of classically Strat sounding guitar. The 77 I use quite a lot. The brown one does sound nice, but it's not what I'd call a typical Strat sound. It's quite different. But anyway, this, as I was saying, is a hardtail Fender Strat. Hardtail meaning that, like a Telecaster, there's no tremolo system. So if you look at the back, whereas you'd normally see on a on a Stratocaster, you'd normally see a cavity for some springs and various gubbins of the inside of the guitar. What you see on the back is just 6 ferrules where you thread the strings through. And so it has no tremolo arm, which actually is I really prefer. I'm actually a big fan of hardtail Strats, mainly because I don't use the Strat tremolo arm a great deal. I'm on a couple of guitars. I've always found it goes out of tune, especially on my 70s on the brown one. I do use the tremolo arm on the sort of relic one. You can probably see behind me there. It's got a tremolo on it, but I don't use it a great deal, and I never get round to using it. I always I put it on, intend to, but don't use it a great deal. So a hardtail is perfect for me, to be fair. So I like this one. This is particularly nice because it's a although it's a 70s guitar, it's actually very light. I weighed it. Who asked me? Someone asked me. Oh, it's Brian. Brian Cope asked me what the weight of the guitar was, and it's 7.6 or £7.6 basically, which is pretty light, I think, especially for a 70s Strat. Considering the other two I've got weigh probably about the same amount as me put together, I think. So they're very heavy guitars normally, but this one's a nice piece of light ash, and it's a nice grain as well. I mean, it looks it's quite a nice grain, considering obviously these weren't the sort of best made or the most popular time for a Strat, being the 70s. You can see the join on the back, so the grain's not quite as nice because you can see it's joined together, but that obvious matching sort of error there doesn't really translate to the front. It's not as bad, at least. So it looks pretty good. So it's a nice looking guitar. It's a poly finish, not nitro as it was in the 70s. The only bit of nitro on there is, as usual, I mentioned this before in some of the videos, the 70s Strats basically were poly finished. They're finished with polyester, but basically afterwards, after the decal, this little transfer, water slide transfer was put on. They then sprayed it with nitrocellulose. So the only bit of nitrocellulose on the guitar is that. So what happens is you see a lot of 70 Strats with a darkened headstock. This one is not really obvious, but you can see that the headstock is darker than the neck itself. And if I flip it, you can see where the nitrocellulose finish is sort of bled as they sprayed it onto the front. It's sort of gone a bit over onto the sides. So you can see there's dark patches is where the polyester is there, but you can see bits of the you can see it's sort of a lot easier on that side as well, where the nitro has sprayed over onto the polyester, and they've used it. It's basically what it is that the spray they used for the polyester was breaking up the water slide transfers, and so they tended to use the nitro because it was easier just to have a little sort of puff of lacquer to keep the transfer on, as I remember anyway. Don't quote me on that. So yeah, that's essentially what's good about these ones. They all have this dark head. My 77 actually is it's really obvious about you can see the dark patch on there, so it's pretty obvious. But this one's not so obvious from the front, and the whole thing looks fairly darkened anyway. Has been refretted with bigger fret wire. I didn't do that. This was refretted when I bought it way back in the 90s. I did an episode on my yellow banana custard Telecaster 73 Telecaster, and I actually bought my 73 Telecaster and this 74 Strat from the same person at the same time. So it was like a double purchase. I think 450 quid or £500, something like that. It wasn't like mental prices now. I mean, last time I saw one of these go in this condition was, I think, about just over £2,000, I think. So they're can be quite pricey. I've seen gone for more, but and for some for a bit less. But this is in pretty good nick. Original pickups, not the original pots. I don't think. I think maybe one of them is original, but the volume and volume in one of the tones has definitely been changed. The switch has definitely been changed because in 74 that would have been a 3-way switch. They didn't make the 5-way switches until 1977, so that's definitely been changed. Pickups are I've got the original pickups, but the front two are the originals, so the original 74 pickups, grey bottom pickups. Back one is actually a bare knuckle Irish Tour bridge, because the thing about the 70s ones is they didn't match the pickups. They didn't give you like a hotter pickup for the bridge pickup. Yeah, I love high-tail Strats too, Russ. They sound great. I'll talk about that in a minute. So it was, I think, in the later 70s where they started doing the bridge pickups with a little red dot on them to make it to slightly hotter wound bridge pickups. But back then they didn't bother too much. So I think all of the pickups are rated around sort of 5-ish, 5.5K. I think the front is 5.7, the mid one is 5.6, and the bridge from the original one is 5.7 as well. And I think the one I've got in there is about 6.5 or 7, something like that. So it's hard to pick up in the bridge to suit that sort of. I prefer to have a slightly more a pickup with slightly more girth, shall we say? So it has more a little more guts to it, to be fair. But yeah, so what I was going to say, yeah, I mean, I think the hardtail Strats actually sound, they have a certain sound of their own. They sound more Telecaster-like because of the hardtail. So there's a stronger sound to the back pickup. I always think the back pickup sounds better. This back pickup, and this definitely sounds more Telecaster-ish than Strat-ish. And I like the whole thing that there's more resonance in the body. The fact there's no big sort of cavity in the back. There's no big hole in the back. Actually I think it makes a difference on the sound. You might disagree. Now, unusually for me, I haven't rewired this one to get the front and back pickup, so it's sort of wired fairly standard. Front pickup, this is a clean sound, just a tiny bit of reverb. So that's front. That's the front pickup. I need a drink. Cheers, everybody. So so Tim is set. Let me just see if I can read this. Tim generally says something interesting during these posts. Back in the mid-90s, when I had about £4,000 of redundancy money to invest, I considered buying a few 70 Strats. You could pick up 70 Strats for £400 all the time. Yes, that's one of the reasons why I picked up this one. So to invest it with a bank and so. I tell you what, I absolutely think that guitars are the best investment. Obviously, at the moment, it's pretty obvious with the interest rates the way they are. But I did the same. I've got a 79, a 77, a 74, and a 64. I mean, and the cost of the 64 in comparison to what I spent on it is way better than any stock market value. And you're not taking any risk, they will go up. There's a finite amount of 64 Strats. So. Now what I need to do is collect some classic cars as well. Anyway, continuing. Russ, what did Russ say? Yeah, I like the fact that the truss rod adjuster is there. I don't like it on most guitars, but 70 Strats. Obviously, it's a part of the look of a 70 Strat to have the old bullet truss rod. I like it to look classic. If it's supposed to look like a 60 Strat, I like it to have the truss rod adjustment down here. But I have to say, it's dead handy to have it down there. And it looks nice. It's like a little silver bullet, which is pretty cool, I always think. So anyway, that was the front pickup was there. And here's the position. I never know which way round. I know some people say the bridge is one. I always call the neck position one, but it doesn't really matter. That was the front pickup. This is front and mid, which is really a really nice tone on this guitar. It's a maple neck. It makes it a little bit brighter than most of the Strats I've got. So it's got that classic in between tone. The again the middle pickup. I like the tone on this particular guitar. It's quite a bright middle pickup tone. Quite nice for that sort of chunky. Quite chunky little. So that was nice. And yeah, so bridge and middle. That's a nice. I'll get that onto a clean sound again for you. Nice very nice quacky tone. This one. Like I say, I always think the maple neck makes a difference. I don't know why I always want to play that on that particular sound. I don't have that on much of my Strats. I tend to rewire it so I get front and back, so I don't have that noise. So it's a novelty for me. It's quite a quacky sound, and nice for rhythm, obviously. So a nice one, and then the bridge always sounds a little bit sort of to me clean bridge sound. Doesn't do a great deal for me anyway. Twangy and sort of enough guts really in that one. That's why I put the hotter pickup in there, so it has enough guts to not sound ratty and nasty like some of the ones, some of the Strats I've heard have a bit of a ratty sound to them. Right, so what's that question from? Possibly from Jenna. I don't know. Probably Julian, I imagine, has asked that. What is the difference between maple and rosewood necks? I'm not sure whether that's a bigger question you're asking me there, as in what's the difference in tone, or what is the actual difference between a maple and a rosewood neck. Basically, most guitars have maple necks anyway. When people say a maple neck, they generally mean, a rosewood neck, they generally mean a rosewood fingerboard. The wood of the actual neck is generally maple. On a Strat or a Telly, it's maple, so that light color. And then obviously on the front, this one is actually I forget now. Although it's a 70s one, it is a one-piece maple neck. I know some of the 70s ones had two-piece, so there was like a piece of maple on top. But so for example, the one behind me up there is a rosewood neck, so it's basically a dark wood on top of the maple. So if that's the question you're asking me, that's the difference. Is that it has basically like a block of a different wood on top. But if you ask me about the difference, it's just a difference in tone. I always think that rosewood necks sound slightly darker to me. Maple, for some reason, is a brighter sort of sound. I have no idea why. I'm sure someone will I'm sure you can find a lot about that on Tinternet about why maple is brighter. I think it's because of the harder wood. I have no idea. I'm going to have a drink. early in the day, I know, but my daughter bought me some Glenfiddich, and it seems a shame to waste it. Yeah, that's nice. This one's got another one of those wobbly necks. I mean, actually, for a 70s guitar, a lot of the 70s guitars didn't have particularly great construction. But this particular one, I mean, my 70s one has got quite a large gap in the, you know, where the neck meets the body. But this one is actually a really tight neck gap. It's really well made. There's nothing much to complain about this particular 70s Strat. Certainly give my 64 Strat a run for its money. Let's play a song, shall we? Let's do a bit of Hendrix. Right. This is something I don't normally do. I've got some fuzz. I hardly ever use fuzz. I'm not a big fan of it, but as I'm doing some Hendrix, I think it's probably, let's say, de rigueur. It's a nice sound, which is sort of bottoms out a little bit on the low end. I might take some of the low end off that, just so it doesn't blow your speakers. Let's give Red House a go, shall we? There you go, a little bit of Mr. James Marshall Hendrix. So I don't tend to use fuzz pedals a great deal. That's actually the fuzz option of I'm using a Richie Kotzen fly rig at the moment. So I've got pedals in front of it, but generally for like a sort of an amp sim, it's got like the OMG pedal, the Richie Kotzen OMG pedal on the fly rig, but on the second incarnation of the fly rig, it has a fuzz option, and so it goes between these two. It's quite a nice pedal. So this is the normal OMG. Which is quite a nice sound. But then you've got like a little fuzz option on there as well. So you put like a little mini switch down. So things get a bit flubby, which is quite nice for a change. It's nice to have a fuzz pedal on the as an option anyway. So what else can I tell you about this? Not a great deal. This is what it is. A 74 that's in pretty good nick. Nice initially, a nice guitar, so definitely worth the money I paid for it. I think it was about $450. You know, it's a classic 3-bolt neck, by the way. So there's your 3-bolt neck. Serial number on the serial number on this one is actually on the neck plate rather than the headstock. So as they were in early 70s. Good enough. Good afternoon, Tony. Thank you. It is. I agree. It's a nice Strat. Right. So that's episode 19. Next time I see you, I shall be having a bass guitar frenzy because it's every 5 of these is going to be a bass guitar. That's the way the ratio works. So I should be back probably with some. I only own Fender Precisions or Jazzers, so it's going to be a Jazz or Precision next time. Here's a little bit of there's another Hendrix one. This is Little Wing. Let's find some reverb on here. Oh, that's nice. Bit of reverb, a little bit of grit. Off we go. Thanks for listening, guys. And there you go, Little Wing. I do like that track. One of my favorites. Favorite Hendrix track? Favorite track? Probably. Right, well, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Noel. Sunny Hemsby, blimey. Well, it's sunny here as well, which is not too far. That's good. Glad you're enjoying the weather. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Ruth and the Kitchers. Tony, Brian, Tim, for all the interesting advice. Thanks, Russ. Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Sheila. And thanks, everybody. And thanks, Phil Spencer there. And thanks, by the way, for sharing the posts. That's always good. So if you can share and you think everybody would be interested to watch my ramblings on lots of guitars, then feel free to share. I'll see you next time. Maybe tomorrow, maybe some other time. I'm busy working on demos for a new album. Hopefully we'll soon. All right. Thanks, guys. Stay safe. Take care. See you very soon.